Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
Any additions? None? Okay, good. Marty, you want to take over?
Okay, so we held over the May, so we need to approve the May and June minutes. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at them, and do I have a motion to approve the May and June minutes?
I'll move it.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have no one from the public, so we can go on to ongoing business. So, first up is climate change conversations.
I've been fiercely unsuccessful in getting a hold of the Old York Winery people. I went there once and spoke to one person. They punted me to another person who's been away and I think has returned, but is dodging my phone calls. And so I'm still working on that, but I think we need a plan B, which can either be, meeting somewhere in person. I know Allison had worked out a location, or we can also do it online or not do it at all. But I think we need to try to find a way to either do it with something in the 40-50 people range, or if we don't think we can get that many, then, try to combine it with some other event in the future and just hold off for now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what people's views on this are, but I'm concerned that if we just do it in, like one of our local office buildings or something, we're just not going to get much attendance.
Right.
And if we do it online, we might, but we'd have to have some way to market it that we think we can get the registration that we need.
My initial reaction is to not do it online, because I think the conversation part of it is harder.
Mhm.
But that's just one.
I think that the library is a great option to have. It just would have to be at the main branch. So it would take us out of East Amwell, but it would also open up a larger audience, and the library would also send it out to their people. So we could send it out to our mailing list, but then Hunterdon County main branch could send it out to their mailing list, and people were signed up through their social media as well. So we would probably get, more coverage, more of an audience. And another great thing about the library is that it's that safe space for these views. It's a great place to have this type of conversation, I think, is educational, and also it's free. We just have to press go and rent the room. So we could rent one of their rooms. We could probably, when did you want to do it? In September, right?
Yeah, September, October. I mean, if it's going to be indoors, then I don't think we're as weather dependent as we would be if it was a winery, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I'm more concerned about getting people there and whether we'd have participation from within our township. It doesn't have to be exclusively, but but
that's
it's
the
going to
problem.
be 40 people from outside the township and the 6 of us. It's not going to be
It's not
fair
gonna make
use.
sense, yeah.
So
That's my only concern about the library. Like, I'm sure we could get 40 or 50 people, but I'm not sure how many of them will be from East Amwell.
We could do it at the East Amwell Historic Society. We could have it at Clawson, but I don't know 40 or 50. Jenna, I don't think 40 or 50 people would do the Clawson House. That's pretty tight.
Yeah, I think so, with everything in there. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in there. I'd be terrified somebody would bump into something.
Or steal something, apparently.
God forbid.
You said it, not me.
It wasn't me, I swear. Unfortunately, South County Library, they have one little nook in the corner, so that's not feasible. We could do it in the main meeting room. And would that be all right, Jenna, do you think?
But there's no way we'll get 40 people to come.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think. Do you?
No.
No.
no, and I think where the organization's been successful, they've done it through organizations that have regular meetings that already have upwards of 50 people.
Right.
So it's kind of just something that they have as part of their agenda for that month or whatever it is.
Right.
So for us, it would be more of a challenge to market it in such a way to attract people, which is, it's more, I think, more of a problem than the location.
I mean, I suppose the question is, do we think there's a reason to do it? Even if it's beyond East Amwell, or we wait and try and figure out something that will attract East Amwell residents?
And I'm interested in everybody's opinion. My personal opinion would be that we try to think of some way to combine it with some other event that might.
Or
attract
trees,
people.
perhaps.
Well, maybe that's it, but it doesn't have to be this fall, but
Right.
just doing it in some way where there's already some attraction.
It could be an arm of the Green Fair for next year. It could just be a part of that. I mean, that's the first thought that I have, is have it in the Green Fair or the Green Scene in some form.
Yeah, and maybe we think about that event in a slightly different way organizationally or logistically to make it work, but something like that, it doesn't have to be that event, maybe it is, but
Right.
think about something like that.
But we'll just keep on thinking about it. It will happen. It'll happen one time, because I think it's an interesting conversation to have, and a lot of people could learn from it. But it's also very tough in our areas.
I am gonna send out a link. I realized I hadn't done this to everybody, of just like a short YouTube video that gives a sample of what they do.
Oh, okay.
It's a little dated now, the video. It's been up there, kind of presentation has been updated for recent events, which are happening all the time. But at least it'll give you an idea.
What other events have they done in New Jersey? Like, are they doing anything coming up, or is there anything that we could just kind of?
Yeah, not really nearby though. In other parts of the state, down the shore, or way up in North Jersey, so.
Are they hybrid events, or just we can just go to their website? Because I remember I've perused the website, but we could just see what they've done recently.
On their website, they show what their schedule is, but I didn't see any links to recordings.
Oh, okay.
So the only recordings are on YouTube, and they're close to a year old.
The next is tree planting with the Sourlands. So the Sourlands has been in touch with individuals to do tree planting on individual property. They have a separate grant, which is a little less restricted, that is for planting on public property. And so we've identified some properties that are owned by East Amwell. Jenna, I've had no luck finding out why we own them. I emailed a bunch of old timers, they didn't remember. I emailed Mary Ann, but I realized I haven't heard back from her, but I also realized this is farmland assessment season. So I'll follow up with her after August 1st. One person hypothesized that they were properties that were acquired during a time when East Amwell was trying to get some contiguous properties, which I don't know if it's true, but it makes sense because these properties that we found are between DNR land or next to New Jersey state land, or one of them is right next to the Sourlands Preserve. So last week I met with Rob and we went bushwhacking.
Excellent.
Got attacked by ground bees.
I did
Ouch.
too. My hand was blown up like this last.
But he looked at the properties and so there were 2 lots that are right next to the Sourlands, and there's 2 lots off Ridge Road that are next to DNR land. One of them he thought was prime for planting, and the other one he thought was would be good for putting up deer fencing and letting it regenerate. So the way I left it with him is he's going to get some GPS coordinates so that we would have more specific information for the township. And then I'm going to continue to try and figure out what was the purpose of these lands, these properties. But Jenna, I'm curious what your thoughts are before we go any farther, talking to the township committee.
No, I mean, I think it's a good idea and stuff to try and figure it out and everything and plant the trees there since they have the grant and stuff. I'm gonna have to look at where they are on Ridge Road now. I'm curious.
Yeah, I can, the one off Ridge Road, I can describe to you. The other one, you gotta go on a hike with me.
Yeah.
But he said, I said, look, we need to know, what do you need from the town? At
Mhm.
first he was like, oh, maybe fencing, and I was like, no, we don't have any of that. And then he was just like, okay, just permission. So at some point, it would obviously have to go before the TC to say, okay.
Mhm.
So I don't know, like, what you'll need in addition to the exact coordinates, like, what else will you need to talk to the township committee?
And Marty, you mentioned not knowing the purpose of these lands. I mean, do we care? Do we need to know?
I think, I mean, Jenna, I think we were just kind of curious, like, we wanted to see, like, maybe they were acquired, I don't know, it just seemed like it's
It'd be nice to.
crossing Ts and dotting Is to know how we came upon them. I mean,
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Marnie, because this was before like my time, and I think most people in the office's time. I don't know. I would just be curious why I didn't know we had it until Marnie brought it to my attention. So I think we're just kind of, like she said, trying to just figure stuff out. I don't think it's necessary, but it'd just be nice to know what the purpose was of buying these properties.
Mhm.
probably they were acquired, for failure to pay taxes,
Yeah, true.
which is why I asked Mary Ann, because
Yeah, that was smart. I mean, I don't think we need much more than just the locations, and then, I mean, I can describe the program to the township committee since, I'm aware of it and stuff since they came to my house, so. Yeah, I mean, do you want to put it on the agenda for the next meeting?
let me, maybe we should wait till I get the exact coordinates.
Okay,
I just, it feels kind of sloppy because like, it's totally landlocked and. We're sort of like looking at this tax map and like, I think it's here, I think it's here. So I would just be nervous I would feel better if I had something certain about where they are. And he said that they would also, get in touch with the neighboring properties just so that they would know what was going on. Because two of them are in the middle of the Sourlands, like there's nobody there. Like Juanita might be the closest person to that one.
okay.
I think she'll be thrilled because he said one of the advantages of putting up this deer fencing is that the native habitat really flourishes and there's a lot of birds. So, and apparently Juanita works with them on some different projects. So, but then the other one has one side of it does have a land, a resident. So, we would let them know what was happening.
Mhm.
So I'll get, when I find out from him the coordinates, I'll be back in touch and then maybe we can talk about. And I can come to whatever meeting you decide to do it and answer questions or whatever.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Rain garden update.
So Jamal and I have been, probably about 3 times now, we've gone over to the basin, which is to the left of the parking lot as you pull into Clausen Park, and we've been mowing it down since it's overrun with mugwort. So we priced out, I don't know if we talked about the last meeting, but they priced out obviously about Milestone. It's not on the contract for the applier to use, so it's illegal for him to use that on his, for him to apply, and it costs a lot. So we've decided that we'll just mow it down continuously, just scorched earth on it. Jamal is looking into acquiring tarping. He's gonna speak to somebody about it and he's supposed to get back to me on that. And then we could do that over the winter and then address mowing down basically the rain garden. Because that's completely overrun as well, with the exception of.
Wait, are you already mowing it down?
Not the rain garden, this is just the basin right now.
Oh.
We haven't touched the rain garden because it is growing and we don't want to mess with it. And we just want to let it live out its days and next to the playground. So we have a basin and we have the rain garden. So we're addressing the basin because that is complete mugwort. There's some dog bane in there, it's not flowering, so he's just mowing it down. So we're gonna try to choke it out as best as we can, and then as I explained before, look into grants, which I've looked into a few already, that we can use to repopulate it with natives. What I would like to do is when we're done with that, and if he can get back with regards to tarping it, then in the fall, we would mow down the rain garden next to the playground, the small one. So we could do that in the fall and then choke that out as well, and then slowly look into grants to repopulate it with
Are
natives as
all
well.
of those sections overrun with mugwort, or is it?
It's mainly the basin. It's not too terrible in the rain garden next to the playground, but there are a couple coneflowers in there. There's a couple, I call it black-eyed Susans, but no butterfly weed or anything, or the monarch weed, the milkweed, sorry. It's just, I can count on one hand the amount of beneficial things that are growing there, but I certainly don't want to mow it down when it's already growing. It's already providing.
And we don't
something.
have any money to plant. anything
Exactly,
there,
so
right.
right now, it's just the first thing I'm looking at it as phase one, just go scorched earth and just choke it out as best as we can. And then as we're doing that, look into the grants that we can take, so we can possibly win, so we can get the money to repopulate that.
Does it make sense to just do the basin first and see how that works before we mow down the?
Yeah, that's basically what Jamal and I have talked about, is that we should just focus on the basin right now, and if it's really working, then in the fall, we can start to apply that towards the rain garden. I don't want to touch the rain garden yet.
No,
until-
but what I'm saying is maybe not mow down the rain garden
Yeah.
until we fixed
Until
the,
we fix the basin.
right,
Yeah,
which won't be by the fall.
Yeah, we have to, like, this is a year, like, if you look at
Right.
the spoke, in the
So-
spectacle of time, it's gonna be a whole year to choke that out, so in 2 years' time, we're looking to hopefully repopulate it. But right now, it's just a matter of killing what is there, and the education component as well, but we wanna make sure that we
In
can.
the
take care of
rain
it.
garden, is there little enough mugwort that you could pull it or not?
I think pulling it really encourages the.
It
rhizomes
encourages
to
actually,
grow.
Well, it
they do not
depends, if
recommend-
you, it depends how much it is, like, I had it in the spot and I just kept pulling it,
Yeah.
pulling it, and now it's gone. But if it's really tall and there's a
Mhm.
lot of it.
there isn't that much, we possibly could do it, but there's a lot of grasses in there that I can't identify what they are, so to me, it's just grass, it's with a couple coneflowers, which are really nice, but
But not native grasses, or
but
you don't
no,
know.
I don't know, and they don't look as though they're beneficial, really. It just looks like tall grass, like it's not been maintained. But there is just a little bit of mugwort in there, but now with this, I haven't actually seen it in the last week because we've been traveling, but now I would imagine with the rain we've had, it's probably flourishing. So he mowed it 2 weeks ago, and I was gonna talk to him if he's available this week, possibly Friday evening, if he could just go down and just mow it again and keep on it
In the base.
in the basin, not touching the rain garden yet until we have.
Erica, can you hear me?
Yes,
Do you know, can you remember what they said about those grasses? Are they, I mean, because I'm wondering if we can preserve the rain garden near the playground.
I don't recall, but we could probably maybe, if we're really, really nice, get Randy or somebody else. Juanita actually knows a lot about native plants. So maybe we could ask her, in the fall to come and look at them.
I just
and
can't
help.
remember what she said about the, I guess. it was
Or Mike
like-
Van Cleef is very helpful. We could get him.
If we could get Mike out there and even just be like, this is worth saving.
Yeah, I could say, if you guys let me know what we want to do, I can reach out to Mike and we can get on his schedule.
Erica, do you want to reach out to Mike and just have him, we can just have him just swing by? Because it sounds like it's just a really simple thing, like I could meet him over there and just be like, is this worth saving? Because I
Yeah,
know
I'll see
I know
y'all
what Randy
After
says.
the meeting, I'll email him and see when he's in the area.
And that would be cool. That, or we can even take a picture of it, a couple pictures, and just be like, what are your thoughts? Because it kind of is a retention in the middle where there's a lot of stones. So I can envision what it was meant to be, but now it's completely overgrown, but is it? Like me, I think scorched earth, but no, if it is worth saving, it would be great if we can just manually pull some things out, we can bushwhack some things down, and that would make it easier for us to go in and repopulate it a little bit.
I
But
mean,
the
I think it
basin,
depends how, because one way you can do the mugwort is crowd it out.
Yeah.
But if there's not, if there's not enough there to crowd it out,
yeah, because remember we were talking about tilling, and then we were educated about, like, if you till it, it actually
you can't
makes the
sell it.
rhizome, makes it even better, so you're just like, okay, so you can't do that. So that's it. My last conversation with Jamal is that he was gonna mow it again, and that we would he was going to look into acquiring tarp to tarp it. over the winter and just hopefully choke it out as much as possible. It's not gonna be like a completely eradicate it, but the best that we can. And it is best because mugwort actually is like, it's pretty, the more I read up on it, you just want to get rid of it because it's just going to continue. So we may as well focus on the basin first and then see if we can be a little more conservative with the rain garden.
But if you wanna choke it out, maybe we can restart them in August, September,
Yes.
before we go into winter. Because winter is their downtime anyway, so it's not
Yeah.
gonna kill them. As soon as we open the tarps, they will all come out.
Exactly, yeah. So that's, we would want to do that soon. And that was, he was going to get back to me on that. So because the sooner we can do it, if we do it in September, it starts to rain. If we get a snowy winter, it just kind of,
Well, it's
Yeah,
the
and then
heat that
maybe-
actually
heats it
contributes to
down, and then-
killing it, so
Yeah.
you wanna
Yeah,
do it when it's
solarizing.
hot weather.
yeah.
And then maybe in September, October, we can reseed it with lots of natives.
Not
Well,
the following
When
September.
you're talking about repopulating, you're talking about seeding.
My thought on repopulating is acquiring actually
Plugs,
grown
definitely.
plants already.
Or
like
plugs, you don't have
Flower
to get-
plugs, thank you, plugs as well, because seeding I don't think is gonna.
Right.
It's not gonna take, we're gonna
Well,
get,
it might take, but
buds.
not if the mugwort is
Yeah.
not completely.
because it's not gonna compete with the mugwort, so we would have to get in there with plugs and.
Yeah, and even then, even with plugs in the first year, maybe even two, it's gonna take some maintenance to
Yep.
keep the weeds out,
Yeah,
so.
so this is definitely
It's
a
a pretty big
1 to 2 year
project
project.
with such significant manpower
Mm.
to pull the weeds in that first.
I mean,
year.
the down the line, we have an idea for an educational component and having the school involved and whatnot, but right now the nitty gritty is how are we gonna beat down the mugwort? Because that's the main thing. It's not providing any benefit right now. It's not serving its purpose. So as soon as we can get a handle on that, then we can move forward with the volunteer effort and applying for grants and making it pretty again. So.
I'm
That's
sorry,
what
is
happened.
Jamal mowing it now?
What was that?
Is Jamal mowing the basin now?
Yeah, he mowed the basin, I believe 2 weeks ago was last time he was there.
Does DPW know that?
Yes, spoke to
Okay.
Jason and I spoke to him about,
That was the first thing I said.
yeah.
Okay,
So we were just like, oh, let's just go mow. And we're just like, "Ah."
just making sure.
We have the blessing from Jason. He was just like, if you want to maintain that, go for it. And he gave us the name for the person who applies the pesticide and whatnot. He was the one that advised that he can't do the milestone. So just let him know that we're maintaining that.
Perfect.
If anybody yells at him, send him.
All right, events.
For events, I've been speaking, so obviously we had to table Ivy from Roots, Blooms and Yard, sorry about that, in June. However, she is still a go to have a garden tour, possibly at the end of August, so I was gonna move forward with planning that, and that would be at her garden, which happens to be in Flemington, so it would be like a garden tour as well as a picnic type thing. So that was the initially planned for the beginning of summer, now we're gonna try to do it for the end of August. Is the tentative date so far. We're just bouncing dates off to see when it would be the best time. I spoke to Kathy Klink and somebody her last name is Fox. She's from the Delaware River cleanup. She arranges that and we can sponsor another cleanup again along the Delaware River. Just as the East Amwell Environmental Commission, we can just have our little portion of the cleanup, same as last year. I think Erica, you were gonna try to make the one last year. It would be at the same place at Stockton. And we would clean up our portion of the Delaware River and we would get our name on the back of the shirt. It would be great. This, I believe, is the 5th year or 6th year that they're doing it, and that's going to be on September 16th. Everything is still in the beginning phases of planning, but we would do the Stockton location again for that in mid-September. Another thing is Juanita, I've been talking to her, there is a portion that the Sourlands has been planting trees off of Rainbow Hill. She's emailed me about it a while back that she would like to see cleaned up.
Where is Rainbow Hills?
Rainbow Hill Road, if you're going down.
It's
And
where they're fixing the bridge right now. You can't
Yeah.
really get there.
yeah, so there is a portion of land that is
Off of like Blisswoods Road in that area back there,
Yeah.
Backbrook.
it's like, I have to pull up the
I
email,
think what runs into it, I think, maybe.
but
If you're going towards Hillsborough Cross Country, Hillsborough Golf Club, yeah, it's the left right before that.
So I'll just pull up the email really quick, but the Rainbow Hill Preserves, so she would like to do a cleanup at the Rainbow Hill Preserves, and she put me in contact with a member of with the Girl Scouts about doing the cleanup there, because there's just so much, she says there's tons of great birds there, and it obviously needs a bit more sprucing up, more than Amwell Lake. Because I think Amwell Lake in the fall, you go there, we don't really actually, it's a good problem to have, but there's not that much trash. So that's a good thing. So she's recommending the Rainbow Hill Preserve, possibly in
Is
the,
there like a pond or a lake or something?
there is,
Yeah, it's very beautiful, and I think it's part of the AVTA. One of
I
their
believe
trails
so.
goes around very close to there. Because when
Erica,
I've gone there, you walk on like, in horse, where horse tracks, basically.
Erica, where is it before that bridge or after that bridge, that green bridge?
I don't know the bridge you're talking about, but you just go up, it's like right by where it's like right across the street from Fred Gardner, if you know where he lives.
That's not Rainbow Hill Road.
That's
Fred
North
Gardner
Hill.
doesn't live on Rainbow Hill Road.
That's
No, oh,
no.
maybe I'm getting confused of what property, but I'm thinking about, it used to be a airport place.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, I know what you're talking about, but this is different. Rainbow.
Okay, then I don't know.
But I don't know any preserve on Rainbow Hill Road.
I
She's right there, like
I just
there's 100 paces that go through there. Yeah, been all around it.
Right.
I don't know exactly.
who's NJCF?
Jenna, what were you gonna say?
sorry, I Googled Rainbow Hill Preserve because I wasn't aware of one either, and it's popping up for Hillsborough Township.
Yeah, this is right on the border there.
She said it's in Hillsborough.
Oh, it is in Hillsborough, wow.
Yeah.
Hill, I think, is the border of East Amwell and Hillsborough, then you get onto that old airport there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Rainbow Hill is in East Amwell, because it also, it's kind of
well,
like.
part of it is.
Yeah,
like,
East
half of it
Amwell,
is.
Huntington, Hillsborough, it's kind of where all they meet, so if it's in. So that.
One side of Rainbow Hill's East Amwell, and the other side of the road is not.
Oh, okay, so it just all depends, so I'm gonna get a little more clarification from Juanita, exactly where it is, if it's in Hillsborough, obviously, then we'll do that, I mean, it would be great to do, but it's not East Amwell. But she says that there's Girl Scouts who are working on a gold award that are willing to recruit volunteers to clean it up, so if it's in East Amwell, that is an option for a cleanup in place of the Amwell Lake. And also, one last thing is, Wild Spawn Mushrooms has offered to do a foraging class for residents. He has a place on Linville and he forages for mushrooms. He was at the Green Scene. He was also at Sourland Mountain Fest, and he's just a wealth of information, and people are really drawn to him. He can really attract a crowd. He knows what he's talking about, and it's about foraging and cooking with mushrooms, identifying them, making sure you're not eating one that's going to kill you. He's a very, very cool guy, and he's really would like to do it. And I told him that October would probably be the best time. So if everybody feels all right with that, that's something that's a definite. With him and Ivy and the Delaware River cleanup, those are 3 events that would come up for us that we could sponsor.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
And then I had sent out the master plan re-exam report, and I was just wondering if people had feedback that they wanted to go back to the planning board. If anyone looked at it. And-
I've read all of them, things, but I don't remember much.
And if not, that's fine.
No, I think it was.
I haven't had that, I should have, so. apologize.
Thought it was good, but I had a couple of questions.
Well, you can, if you
Yeah.
think of them, you can
I don't.
tell. And then I just wanted to have the opportunity, if anyone had ideas or suggestions or the things that they wanted us to be working on.
Well, last meeting, I brought up the idea of whether we should look into solar or energy efficiency for this building.
Right, did you get the link I sent you?
And I also, I saw a link on that. If you.
Oh,
but I-
yeah, I sent, well, who knows, I thought I did.
Next to the shared drive.
Well, I just sent it to him, it was this drive that had everything that Dan,
Oh,
that.
yes, I looked
Oh,
at that. and
okay.
There was nothing in there that was
Okay,
specifically on that subject.
oh, okay,
It was about, that was about looking at some some energy efficiency energy efficiency audit that they were supposed to have done years ago. It was not really on this point.
Okay,
So I mean, I did some research on it, and I think there's some opportunity there, but I happened to run into Dante DePiero over the weekend. And he's also kind of independently looking into it, and I don't want to step on the toes of the township committee if they're doing this independently. I'm not even sure if that's within our mandate as the environmental commission. So, you know, I spoke to him and said, look, I'll provide you any information that I can come up with. So, you know, I'll see what he's up
Great.
to and go through that.
that's great. I think it would fall within our mandate, because basically our mission is, you know, promoting sustainability for the township, to, you know, to pass on to the township committee.
Mhm.
So, so if you find anything, that'd be great.
Yep.
That's,
Wary of stepping on toes. Wanted to do it the right way.
I think everyone's happy for help mostly.
There are some programs available that could, I mean, I think there's a significant evaluation process that needs to take place. For example, how much space is on the roof? Is the roof structurally sound? You know, what's the electrical infrastructure in the building? You know, all those kinds of things. And then from an energy efficiency standpoint, somebody's got to do an actual physical walkthrough and say, here are your opportunities. And then there's typically a second step process of doing a more in-depth analysis, which could be done in conjunction with, I think we have a township engineer here.
well, we have a freelance one, right?
So, but before we even get to that point, I
And
mean,
is it-
there are programs available through the New Jersey BPU.
Oh, through BPU,
And we wouldn't have to pay for any of it, at
great.
least the initial analysis of both the solar and the energy efficiency. So I'll work with Dante and see if he wants to
Great.
follow up.
Anything else?
This is Erica. I had one thing is I think that maybe during the winter months, it might behoove us or a couple of us to go down and look in the basement. If I recall, there, when I was on other committees, there's just a ton of boxes for environmental commission. So who knows what all, there may be something really useful in some of them. So I was thinking that might be something we'd like to do. That's it.
In the basement of this building?
Yeah.
Boxes of, I don't know what, I wasn't on the environmental, I was on recreation, and that's where we stored a lot of our stuff. So I would see all these EC boxes.
Well, they probably have like a 7-year thing where you can't destroy documents for 7 years. Is that like applied to municipal as well? Or? I don't know.
I don't know.
Well,
I always wonder.
I think she said we read what's in the box.
Oh, go in there and like take them out. Because I'm sure Linda was just like, I know Linda would love for us to go down and
Just clean it all out,
and she
yeah.
just like. clean it out. But if it's something.
I think I heard Leo volunteer to read them all. in.
Yes.
Digitized, yeah.
Like,
People are always trying to give me boxes of old documents.
you know, just like maybe keep it, just find a nice little spot for it. But if it's like maps or something.
I'll go with you, Erica, and look at them this winter.
Yeah, I'm into, I'll read them.
Okay, yeah, no, I think if there's probably a lot of junk and correspondence, but there may be something useful. You just don't, you know, when you see the number of boxes, if I'm remembering, and I may not be, there, you know, there's got to be something of use in one of them.
Well, I know prior to us, any of us, there was a lot of work on easements, which became a very controversial topic. But I mean, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't preserve whatever work was done. My guess is some of those boxes have to do with documenting that. But I think you're right. It would be interesting to know. Okay, oral reports. Jamal's not here, so planning board. Did we approve? Was last month the month we approved it? This last meeting? Yeah, I think so. So Yeah, we approved the reexamination report. We have a new chair, which is, who is Al Nardi. We created 3 subcommittees to look at, so, that document that I sent you all was a lot of recommendations for what the town should be looking at. And we set up subcommittees to look at dark sky ordinance, farmland preservation, and historic preservation. So at the next planning board meeting, those subcommittees are gonna report back what they've learned. Anything else, Jenna?
No, I think you're good. I covered it.
Okay. My memory's not so great these days.
Parks and Rec, fortunately, we've had to cancel our Friday night in the park because there was thunder and lightning. It was like 100% chance. So we had to cancel it. I was not at the last Park and Rec meeting, unfortunately. So there wasn't, as far as I understand, there was no reschedule for it. We're just going to move forward with the August one. We have 4 farmers signed up for that. So hopefully we can get a little bit more. And we're looking at, with Mike Dendis and Natalie went down to the county and looked into funding that we have. I don't have the exact number. I mean, Jenna, you might know this, but about funding that we have that we'll be able to use for Green Acres, I think. At least something towards the park, that's as we try to update the park, make it a little ADA compliant, put a shade over the playground so we're not cooking and whatnot. So maintenance for, and updates like the new water fountain, if we can get that or whatnot. So we're looking into funding for that. There's also a couple other grants that we're looking into as well to hopefully see if we can bring Clausen Park up to snuff, especially to make it ADA compliant, because there's a lot of, if you've been up to the Deer Run Park up in Hardin County, they've just made a all-inclusive playground, which is fantastic for kids, and it's a really great playground too. So it would be really nice to have that opportunity for Clausen. So we're doing a lot of research on that. The next thing that was canceled, unfortunately, was the Music Fest. So it's supposed to be high school kids, but they couldn't get enough performers. So they canceled that. That was for July 29th. So not very fun in the Parks and Rec department, but you know, but hopefully August works out and we can get a few more farmers and the last 2 Friday nights work out good. That's
The baseball games too.
yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me. So we do have 2 baseball games. We have July 29th is a night game, and August 12th or in the teens is a day game. If you go on the East Amwell Events and Education page, there's a link to a Google form. You can go on and reserve your tickets, and then you can pay in person here at the clerk's office. We have like a set payment, and we have a set head count, and you can just go to either one or both of those games, and it benefits Parks and Rec. So, and that was it was a really good turnout last year. We don't have much of a turnout this year. I think we've only have reserved about 8 tickets. So
No, the July game has 26
did
reserved.
26 people did?
That's what that's
Wow,
what
so did they just like come in and pay? So they didn't use the Google form?
I don't, I'd have to ask Jason.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what
Okay, so
he told me, he
so
said there was
people
like
who already paid
26.
For the 26 tickets have been paid for already?
That was my understanding. I think there was some difficulty picking out the tickets physically, but that's what Jason said at the last meeting. It was that
All right,
26.
so people are just
set.
coming to the, all right, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
I know that was like a little confusion that people, they're like, what if I can't make it down here? So that's good. People just come in. So the word of mouth is working at least, so that's good. So, all right, so that's, I think it's 30 tickets in total. So we have 20 tickets for July, and then we have the day game for August. So if you want to come to that. And that's all for Parks and Rec.
And Erica, Friends of Open Space?
We haven't met. Next meeting is in August, so I'll have something to report then.
And Jamal now is also on Friends of Open Space, so.
I think it's farmland,
I mean, yeah.
open
someone.
space, and
Sorry.
well,
Thank you.
good. Well, good. That will be good to have Jamal, because we really need some members.
And Jenna, how about you, updates?
Yeah, so a couple of things with probably relates to environmental. So Marty knows we got a grant to treat for spotted lanternflies. We got 15,000 from the state.
15,000? No, 1,500.
No. Yeah, it was 15,000. Yeah, but it's Now you're gonna make, no, I know, it was a lot, but we don't know what, I mean, we're not quite sure what to do with it because, as you said, as you know, Marnie, it's like, here's money, but we didn't really tell you how to spend it and stuff, so we're not, and we have to pay up front and then get reimbursed. So I don't know if people have concerns about it. I could send it out probably to the group better to look at it. I'd like to use it. And it can be used on private land too. It doesn't have to be township land, so I'm not even sure how we'd work that, but that's something going on.
Jenna, I didn't look at it long enough. Is there any like chance that it could be used on like educating people to get rid of that honey locust tree, which is actually the problem?
I don't know. I'd have to look again closely. And I'd also be curious how much they want the money spent, if they'd be a little flexible. Because it covered like equipment, the pesticides, like training, I think, but I'm not sure it covers education, which
Right.
would be a good thing to cover.
Sorry,
Just like, if you have enough money, we can do the bluebird houses, then put it in different places, because they are eating lantern
well,
flies.
I already said this to Jenna, like,
Yeah.
I think at least in the Philly area, and I think in our area, just from personal observation, that they're not really a problem.
Yeah.
Last
If
year.
they're fewer this year than they have in the past, correct? Yeah.
What they found out is that
Yeah.
if they don't eat on the, whatever that there's this one kind of tree. If they don't eat on that tree, then birds and particularly dragonflies will eat them.
Mm.
So they have predators. And so in places where they've been effectively able to get rid of that, it's a certain kind of invasive species of tree. They found that the predators are controlling it,
Huh.
which is why I was so surprised that it's so much money.
Yeah. And it's,
So many things to do with that.
We had.
Probably because we have all these vineyards and they
Yeah,
do like grapes.
I've been to like.
Yeah.
I've seen none.
Tree of
Have you
heaven
seen
is the-
Tree
Oh,
of heaven.
I've killed probably 10
In Alaska. either.
just on my fence where I have a grapevine growing for that purpose is to capture these lantern flies. But I just do them with insecticidal soap.
But have you seen a lot this year, Erica?
Yeah, well, not as many as last year, but I've killed 10 at least.
But 10 is,
Yeah, it's not like I had, but I mean, it's the only place I see, the only place I've looked, to be truthful, is on my walkway in my backyard, and there's a grape. I've allowed a grapevine to grow up the fence, and that's what they like grapes. And so I see they're in the black phase now. They're not in the red phase. I think they're starting to go into red. And so I see them and I squirt them with my insecticidal soap.
maybe there's more in the Sourlands.
I have this Japanese styrax tree from our previous owners, and last year it was covered with lantern flies. This year it's 0. I don't understand what's happened, but I'm thankful.
Yeah.
They were on black walnut trees last year on my property.
No, it's like a real phenomenon. It turns out they have predators and they didn't think they did.
Circle of nature, right? Rare have owners be more than happy to provide bluebird boxes.
Yeah, I doubt the state's gonna pay for that.
It's a nice stuff.
Was there anything else, Jen?
Oh, yeah, the only other big thing we were discussing at the township meeting is, we had in our budget to build a new salt barn, because I don't know if anybody's gone to the Great Yard, but the salt barn is in desperate need of repair, and I'm very worried that it's gonna collapse and salt's gonna go in the stream and everything. So we found out we can actually, store salt at the county salt barn, which is located near Mount Airy. So it's about 4 miles outside of East Amwell. But that's kind of a big discussion. If anybody, wanted to watch the last township meeting or had any concerns or ideas, the committee would love to hear about it, because it's obviously a big purchase. We're trying to decide whether we need it or not, but so those are the 2 big things.
Yeah, I was watching that discussion. I think Tracy Carluccio gave a really good presentation.
Yeah, thanks. I think she did too. I mean, she's just so knowledgeable. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was at that meeting too.
Yeah.
In the notes, and I kind of share her concerns, I'll be honest, so it was a long, lengthy conversation too.
Yes, quite lengthy.
I mean, 5 minutes. Yeah, so,
Long night.
yeah, a long night, yeah. So, I don't know what anyone's thoughts are about that, but.
Okay, and that's it, Jenna, right? That was,
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
and no one from the public, no vouchers, right? No correspondence. All right, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye,
That's me, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
bye.
Take
Onward.
care.
Bye, Greg.